republic for which it stands.
One nation, under God.
Indivisible.
With liberty and justice for all.
Guns, self-defense, concealed carry. This is the Patriot Defense Podcast. From the War Room in Idaho's high desert, here's your host, Todd Echols.
And I am back. Once again, it is a Sunday afternoon, and I am tucked away in the war room somewhere in the high desert of southern Idaho. And it's been a few weeks since I've been on here. I'm kind of surprised I actually remember the intro. At least I think I got it right. Anyhow, I was compiling a list of things to talk about and do a podcast today, actually. And yesterday, during my permit class, probably right around 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon, the people in my class, they started getting notifications, and we found out that just down the road, you think it can never happen where you live, you think it won't, but it can, and it may eventually find you. But just down the road from where I live, probably about 16 miles away, so just a 20-minute drive, just down the road there was an active shooter. If you listen to the news, if you're on social media, if you're not from this area, I'm sure you've heard it because I believe the national news picked it up. We just opened, In-N-Out just opened their restaurant. Their fast food restaurant opened a couple weeks ago, and there was an active shooter situation that took place in little old / getting bigger Twin Falls, Idaho. Quiet Twin Falls, Idaho. It used to be a sleepy little town, and lately as it's growing and we've had more and more people move in, this more and more crime has been occurring and taking place. And yesterday we had our first, I don't know if it's our first or not, but it's from what I can remember is it may have been maybe our first. I could be wrong on that. Check me if you want to. But I want to say our first mass shooting. We had an active shooter situation over by the Snake River Canyon at In-N-Out. Now, I'm going to tell you the facts that I know. I'm going to tell you what I've gathered through reading stories and reading stuff online and the accounts that I have. And I may or may not have some stuff wrong. But what I want to say is I'm going to talk about that, but I really want to talk about is there was a civilian that was there that got involved as well. And I want to talk about my opinion on that. Now, I will preface this and say I could be totally wrong in everything I'm saying. I don't believe I am, but I could be. But I look at things, if you've listened to the podcast for any length of time, you know that I always question absolutely everything. I look at everything absolutely through almost a different lens. And maybe I'm looking through this through my instructor lens, my trainer lens. I have no idea, but I see things differently than most people. So this guy shows up. He looks like he has an AR-15 style rifle. He, from what I can tell, from what I've gathered, from what I've put together, he walks into the In-N-Out, and he starts shooting people. And I think there was I want to say there's 3 dead, 2 or 3 injured. But he shot a person inside there, maybe a couple people, and then he headed outside to continue with his dastardly deed. Now I am cutting this probably a little short. I'm just trying to get to the topic at hand and exactly what I want to talk about. Now, I will say I did not post anything about this yesterday. When I got done with my class, I just kind of read what was going on, paid attention, kind of just let it pan out. When I got out of my class yesterday, they were actually still looking for the shooter. They were looking for what they believed to be actually 3 shooters. And it turned out, as far as we know, to be 1, and he actually took his life. They all do that. They're cowards. They take that way out, or they try to get law enforcement to kill them. But he took his own life. And the reason why people are saying, Todd, this is your I mean, this is all about kind of like your business. This is the work that you're into. Like, you teach people how to carry firearms. You teach them how to defend themselves. Like, why aren't, I got tons of messages. Why aren't you commenting on this? Why aren't you commenting on what's going on? Why don't we see this? We go to the Patriot Defense Facebook page. We went to your personal page. And that's true. I had like 30 people join my business page yesterday, follow my business page, and they were probably expecting to see something. I refrained from talking about this yesterday because, like everyone else, I didn't have the facts. I don't have some kind of magic crystal ball where I know or see more than the average Joe. I know what was being put online, what was being posted up on the info pages on Facebook, the rants and raves pages. That's all I know, and I didn't want to get in there, and I didn't want to start throwing around, quote, facts or what seemed to be facts or information that was wrong. It was still very well in progress. It was still very active. The scene was still hot, all that good stuff. And I wasn't just going to start throwing out stuff. Now, I watched the videos. I saw what I saw. I spent all evening reading the comments. My freaking phone as soon as I got done with my class at about 4:30 or so, my phone didn't get a break till I decided to wrap it up and go to bed at like 9 o'clock. I mean, I didn't comment. I didn't really post. I just watched and read and thought we'd see kind of how this would pan out before I started putting out all this information. Now, it was ironic because when this took place, when someone in class says, "Oh, whoa, there's an active shooter in and out," when they said that in the middle of class, we were actually talking about discussing in that part of the class what you do when you can use your gun and how you can defend yourself, and when you're lawfully and legally able to defend yourself, and what would happen in the aftermath type of situation, and we talked about where is your line in the sand. Now, if you've taken any of my classes, if you've taken a permit class, if you've listened to this podcast at any given time, you have probably heard me say that, and I'll state it. I state this every time I get the chance, right? Every time somebody asks. I carry because it gives me options. I carry concealed because it gives me options. Why do I carry? I look at every one of my classes, and they're all great people, and I will look at them, and I will say, I carry to protect myself and my family. I do not carry to be a hero or try to be a hero to anyone else in this room or anyone else in Walmart or anyone else at Winco or wherever I happen to be, right? I don't carry for anyone else. I carry for me, my family, or those that are with me. Now, what am I going to do personally if I hear a mass shooting going on? Am I going to jump out of my car and run and get involved? Am I going to run toward the gunshots at the back of the store to find the shooter and to take him down? Is that what I'm going to do? No, I am not. I have my gun, and I'm going to use it if need be to get my family out of that situation, out of that building, out of the parking lot, down the road, away from the danger. I will, if I cannot do that, then I will crouch down, I will bunker down, hunker down, whatever you want to call it, with my family. I'll draw my weapon, and then I will use my weapon to defend my family when the fight comes to me. The way I see it is, if I go out and I get involved in something, and something happens to me, then who's going to defend my family? My family is my number one priority. My wife, my kids, my loved ones, they are my number one priority. They are why I do what I do. Okay? Everything I do is based on my wife and my kids. And damn it, I'm going to get back to them no matter what. Okay? Now, another reason I don't get involved, we talk about this scenario in my classes, and it was brought up by a law enforcement officer that used to help me teach the classes, and we repeat this scenario and talk about the ins and the outs of this in every single class. let's think about this. What if you are in Winco, is a grocery store here. If you're from here, you know Winco. If you're not, you may not have heard of it. It is a grocery store. At the service desk, every other Friday, on payday Fridays, Winco has a ton of money in the store. They do that because some people don't like banks, so a lot of people come in and they cash their paychecks at the service counter. Tens of thousands of, maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars. I don't know what they keep there, but it's lots of money on payday because people cash their checks. If I'm standing at one of the registers, which is near or just directly across from the service desk, and I see someone coming with a firearm, and they head toward the service desk, and they're trying to get money, they're trying to get whatever, and they're waving this gun around. What am I going to do? Let's say I have my wife, and let's say I have my granddaughter is with me, and she's about, I believe, 7 years old. I'm not good at remembering birthdays and ages, but let's say she's about 7 years old. What am I going to do if that happens? Am I going to get involved? I've got my gun with me. Maybe I got a clear shot. I don't know. Am I going to get involved? My answer is no. I'm not going to do a damn thing except for figure out how to get my family, my loved ones out of that store, or I'm going to, like I said earlier, or I'm going to hunker down. Now, why is that? Here's the thing. If I draw my gun and I engage that bad guy, right? Whatever it is, that shooter, I engage that person and I say something, they turn around, they see me, and they take a couple shots at me. If they miss me, those shots could do what? Those shots could hit my wife. Those shots could hit my granddaughter. You know, they see me, they're focused on me, so those bullets are coming my direction. I essentially caused that person with that firearm to fling bullets, fire rounds my direction, when maybe there is a good possibility that would not have happened had I not said anything. Those rounds could, like I said, harm my wife, harm my granddaughter. They could kill and hit and kill someone in the line behind me that I don't even know. Now, am I going to be responsible for that? Probably not, right? That guy shot. It wasn't me. I didn't shot. I drew my gun, but I didn't shoot. But I have to live with that on my conscience every single day. What if I had just did what I thought I should do, stayed out of it, let them do what they needed to do and leave? You know, I essentially caused that life to be taken, even though I didn't take it, right? So that's something that could happen. What if I pulled the trigger and I fired around and I missed? Okay, what if I missed? I mean, I hope I wouldn't, but under stress, under pressure, under times of high adrenaline, that can happen. What if I missed and I killed someone behind the counter? Or I shot and killed someone in the line, right? Then I am responsible for that. That is involuntary manslaughter, and I will go to prison for that. I don't have qualified immunity, folks. It's not going to work for me. Maybe law enforcement, they got a whole different thing going on there, but it's not going to work for me, and it's not going to work for you either. We are responsible for every round that leaves our gun, so we all know that, or we should know that, even in times of self-defense, okay? So that's kind of, that's not kind of, that is the way I see it. That is the way I see it. Now someone says, are you going to let people get killed, Todd? If I have an opportunity, if I think I can do it safely, I may get involved. Chances are I will not, because I've already set my line in the sand. The opportunity comes, the shooter, the bad person, whatever, walks by me. I get a clean, clear opportunity to do what I need to do, then yeah, maybe I'll do it, but I'm not going to go looking for it. I'm not going to try to be a hero. I'm not going to try to save the day. It's not who I am. That is not my job, and I do not want those risks involved with it. I do carry a gun, so someone's like, well, you have lots of risks. You carry a fire. Yeah, but I choose when I get to use it, right? I choose when I get to use it. What I saw yesterday, and if you've been poking around the internets, there's a gentleman that got involved with this active shooter, this mass shooter, so be it, at the In-N-Out in Twin Falls, Idaho yesterday. Now, I don't know the story that led up to it. I don't know where this gentleman was located. I don't know. Okay. I'm just going off of what I know. People are hailing this guy as a hero. They're saying, hey, you jumped in, give this man a hero, give him a key to the city. They set up a GoFundMe for this dude. This dude's probably an all right guy. Okay. And he made a decision. And everyone's hailing him as a hero. They're saying, hey, look, you drove the active shooter away from the in and out. You made him pause. You redirected him because you were shooting at him, and you saved lots of lives. Okay, I get that. He quite possibly did. Right? Is he a hero? I don't know. He jumped in and did what he did, but let's talk. I'm not saying he's a bad dude, and I am kind of criticizing what he's doing, and I'll say he's brave. Like, I don't know how he walks with a pair that big, right? But let's talk about this. Okay. Okay, this is just all from the video that I saw, and so I could be missing information. I'm basing this off of what I saw. And I don't think anything else is not going to change the facts. And here are the facts as I know them, as I see them, as I saw them, as an instructor, as a trainer. This is what I saw. I saw this guy, and he had a pistol. He did it with a pistol. I do not know what kind of pistol it was. I zoomed in and looked at it. A couple things to note about this pistol. I don't think I saw an optic on it. There was no dot. He was using iron sights. He also had a suppressor attached to it. Okay. Remember that. We're going to come back to that. He was shooting at... I didn't see the active shooter. It doesn't show in the video that was taken. It doesn't show the active shooter that he's shooting at. Okay. But he's obviously shooting at an active shooter, at the bad guy. You can tell that. Because not only is he shooting at that guy, but he is also ducking and dodging rounds because this guy is now turned and is shooting at him. Okay, let's get that out of the way. He shot at the bad guy numerous times, and the bad guy shot at him numerous times. And you can see he's ducking and diving to the point of where he dove into the flower bed to try to get out of the way of getting shot, right? To get out of the line of fire. So what do we know? We know that you are responsible for every round that leaves your firearm. Okay, that we know. I just discussed in my scenario that, if I was in that scenario in Winco, what I would do and why I would do what I did. And let's talk about this. Maybe we don't know, and there's a lot of we don't knows. But I know what happened. But we know that this citizen, the citizen, shot at the bad guy. The bad guy turned, started shooting at him. People say he caused a delay. He caused he saved a lot of people because he drew the attention away from him shooting other people. He may have. But what he also did, from where everything's positioned the best way that I can figure, I have not gone out to see the new In-N-Out, but my wife has, and some other people have been down and they know how the place is laid out. And I believe I'm pretty spot on. I could be totally off, but I don't know that it's going to make much of a difference. When he drew fire from the bad guy toward him, I don't think this guy was hit. I just don't think he was. But when he drew the fire toward him, he may have drawn fire away from some other victims, right? Guy turned and shot at him. But those bullets went where? Well, I don't think they hit our citizen. And they went zinging by him, and you could tell that they did because of the way he was moving. And guess what? Those freaking rounds had to go somewhere, right? I talked to someone who said they had family that had stopped off at Dick's Sporting Goods. And they decided to, before they went into Dick's Sporting Goods, they were going to walk over and get a burger at In-N-Out, because that's the newest, hippest place in town right now. They were walking across the parking lot. They heard shooting. The next thing they knew, they were rounds zipping through the air, hitting the pavement, hitting cars, all that kind of stuff, all the way around them. I don't know the exact timing of this, but when that guy was shooting at the citizen who engaged him, he turned, he shot, and those bullets would have gone into the Dick's Sporting Goods parking lot. Was that citizen responsible for someone getting hurt? We don't know if that anyone got hurt yet, but was he responsible for someone getting hurt? Would he have been responsible? Maybe, but probably not. But then again, maybe he caused someone to get hurt that he won't be held liable for. But if he hadn't been there, if he hadn't started shooting at the bad guy, maybe someone else would still be alive. So we got to think about that. Now, I saw the guy shooting, and I don't know this guy's shooting skill. There's videos going around Facebook like crazy. I'm not saying he's a bad shooter. I'm not saying he's a good shooter. I don't even know the guy. I'm just going off the facts of what I saw, and I told you there's probably a lot missing here. The guy was shooting with a suppressor, okay? Now, when you shoot any gun with a suppressor, especially one that doesn't have an optic, there's what they call offset, okay? So your bullet's going to impact the target. The point of impact is going to be different based on, based on what you see through your iron sights. Now, if you have an optic, you can, of course, like a scope on a rifle, you can dial in the optic so everything lines up and converges where it needs to, and it's much simpler. Okay. Now, there's pictures of this guy training with his suppressor. Okay. But under stress, funny things happen. Now, I don't know if this affected that guy, but he's shooting at the bad guy with a suppressor. So if you're shooting at the bad guy with a suppressor, and for some reason, if it happened, if you forgot about that offset, then your rounds aren't going to be hitting where they need to hit. Now, I do not know the distance that he was shooting at the bad guy from. I don't know what that distance is. But if the guy was very far, the further away, that offset was going to be further off. It's like flinching. You flinch a little, it's off a little. You get 3-4 times the distance and you're still flinching that much, it's going to be off 3 or 4 times as much. And that's the same way it's going to work when you have that suppressor and have that offset. So the question is, did he know what that offset was? Did he remember it under times of stress when he's trying to engage an individual that is shooting back at him? Or did he forget about it, fall back to lining up those sights and launching rounds, which I believe, I could be totally wrong, but I believe those rounds would have been headed toward the main road coming into town, which is very close, which would have been Blue Lakes Avenue. It runs right through the middle of town. There was cars on Blue Lakes. There was cars on the other side of Blue Lakes. There was people out there. Did this happen? Or did that happen? Did he hit a car? Did he hit another person? We don't know. The crime scene is still being investigated, I'm sure. When I went this morning to go running, there were still lights. Everything was cordoned off. When I came back from running, there was still law enforcement down there, and I'm sure they were collecting evidence. They're probably recreating this story, recreating the scene of what happened, the crime, all that stuff. So it is yet to be decided if, I'm sure, determined if any of those rounds from the bad guy harmed anyone over in the other parking lot behind the civilian or the citizen, or if the citizen's rounds, if they impacted anyone on Blue Lakes as well. Cars, people, I don't know. It'll be interesting to find out when it's all said and done. Okay? So that's something to think about. Now, another situation that actually did happen is after that active shooter, that mass shooter, that horrible person, after he got done and in and out, he headed over, and this is going to make no sense to anyone else that's not familiar with the area, but we're going to go with it anyhow. After this gentleman, this citizen, shot at that guy, the guy left the area, and you might be going, fantastic, he left the area. Well, he left the area, but now what have you done? You've just broadened the scene of the crime. It is now bigger. This guy is on the move. He went, from what I can tell, and there is a video of him doing this, or at least seeing him there. He headed over to the Visitor Center, the Twin Falls Visitor Center, which is right by the Prime Bridge on the edge of the Snake River Canyon. And there's a video of him. You can find it if you poke around, of him walking up. They have some Tesla chargers over there, of him walking up to a Tesla, and he shot 3 people. And you see him, though, you see him shooting into the front windshield of the Tesla. And they had Utah plates on it, and they ended up killing the man that was in the car and hitting the woman that was in the car, hitting her in the shoulder. And unbeknownst to me until my wife came home, it's not direct family. It's not blood related, married in family on her side, her niece's side. So I won't call them family, but we knew of them, right? It has a tie back to me. They were down. They were going to a family reunion on Sunday. They were charging their Tesla. This shooter shows up and starts shot them while they were in the car, while they were charging the car, I believe. Okay, not great. Now, would that shooter have headed over to the visitor center and shot those people if he hadn't been run out of there by a armed citizen who chose to get involved? We'll never know, but he very well could have forced them over there. Here's the thing, folks. Here's another thing that I would like to point out. I would like to point out that this could be odd. So this might be kind of weird. Maybe I just don't know what I'm talking about. But normally, folks, as far as I know, there might be a very small percentage of people, most people that have a suppressor on their pistol, never are going to conceal carry that weapon with that suppressor on it. It's long, it's bulky. What are you going to do? You're going to try to appendix carry that. You're going to wear it and the suppressor's halfway down to your knee. Most people aren't going to conceal carry their handgun on their person with a suppressor attached. Did this guy? I have no idea, but there was a suppressor on his handgun. So what did he do? What happened there? Well, he obviously, if he did not carry the gun with the suppressor on it, he then had to attach the suppressor. So what did this guy do? Well, he obviously, and it's not against the law, okay? It's not against the law. Idaho says you can defend yourself and you can defend others as long as you legally are wherever you're at. So he was within his rights, okay? He was within the law. But this gentleman, instead of waiting for the fight to come to him, what I imagine, and I could be wrong, what I imagine is that he saw what was going on. He thought, I can stop this. And he took the time to reach into his bag or wherever he kept the suppressor, take the suppressor out, thread it onto or lock it onto his handgun, and then proceeds to move forward after this shooter. That's more, I want to be a hero mentality. Okay. Was this guy a hero? I guess that is the question. I don't know. He may be a hero. Obviously on Facebook, they're saying they're making him out to be a hero to a lot of people. Okay. A lot of people are calling him a hero. And he's probably a hero to some. I don't know what's happening on the other side of that video when he was shooting at that shooter. If the shooter was actively getting ready to shoot someone else and he stopped it, he's probably a hero for that person. But essentially, he drove him out of the area. He drove them to the visitor center where he then proceeded to shoot 3 other people, I think killing 1, maybe 2, I'm not sure. But they caused him to do that. Where does his rounds go that he missed with? Where did the bad guy's rounds go that he missed the citizen with? Where did the citizen's round go that he missed the bad guy with? Assuming he missed. I'm pretty sure he did. Where did they go? Right? Could there have been a giant portion of this that was avoidable? I think so. I really do think so. Now everyone's going to say, Todd, this is Idaho. Everyone needs to carry a gun. More people should have got involved. And I agree with you 100%. I agree with you 100%. But this is what I agree with. I agree that more people should carry guns. I do agree also, I don't agree with you, but I do think also that people should use those guns to defend themselves. Okay? If everyone in and out, if everyone in that parking lot had firearms and they were carrying them to defend themselves and they were under the mindset that they would defend themselves and their family when the fight came to them, that guy would not have made it very far. Okay, I don't think that this guy should have got out and chased this fellow down. I just don't. That's what I'm thinking. That's my opinion. I do see some good in it, right? I guess we need people like that, but I also see a lot of wrong in it. And sometimes I am afraid that these cowboys and cowboy whatever, that we have to be very careful because this can spawn a lot of people. Now, I looked at the Facebook comments. Now, I don't know the history about this guy. I don't know if he had a concealed carry permit. He's not legally required to in this state, obviously. Now, I think a lot of people that look at him and the guy said this guy was a hero. He knew what he was doing. Well, I've read their comments on Facebook. I don't believe that they know what they're doing because they are starting to, on some of these posts, they are starting to recite carry law. They're telling people when someone actually posted a question and said, "Hey, I know with everything that's going on, I want to get educated. I need to get my concealed carry permit. Where should I go?" And I don't know what their last count was, like 200 something replies. There's probably way more now. And probably half of them is, "This is Idaho. It's constitutional carry. You don't need a permit." Some people are like, "This is Idaho. We have open carry. You don't need a permit." First of all, you don't even know because, yeah, we do have open carry, but you can conceal carry without a permit. You obviously don't know that. You shouldn't be reciting laws. And the people that are saying, "You don't need a permit to carry in the state of Idaho," guess what? You should probably understand the laws if you're going to freaking carry. That doesn't mean you have to get the permit. Take a class. Get educated. Be responsible. Because anyhow, the stuff I'm seeing on Facebook is just entertaining and kind of, whatever. Now, I have been reached out to since last night, clearing today, and my phone's blowing up right now. I'm just not looking at any of it. I am getting lots of people contacting me, lots of people asking questions about classes, about permit classes, all this stuff that's going on. And there's some people that are asking questions. They want to do things right. They don't want to just go out and buy a gun. They want to go out and buy a gun, and they want to get educated and get some training, and that's where it's at, right? That's the way it needs to be. Now, as I just kind of went over my thoughts on everything, you don't have to agree with me. I'm not saying the dude's a bad guy, okay? I'm not. I don't even know this guy. I'm just going off of what I saw. And I think there's more to there's a bigger picture than what everyone sees. Everyone sees some guy trying to shoot the bad guys. Well, there's rounds flying in the air, people, and they're going to cause harm and do damage. They can. They might. There could be casualties. There is repercussions every time you do something like this. And that's what you need to take into consideration. Would it have been better to let leave this shooter alone and handle it some other place, to allow law enforcement to come in and take care of it? Now, I'm not telling you I'm a 100% pro law enforcement. Again, folks, if you've listened for any amount of time, I question absolutely everything, even law enforcement. I question God himself. I question the existence of God himself. I'm not a guy that even probably believes in God. You do what you want. I'm fine with it. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. Okay, as long as you leave me alone as well, right? We can all be good people. I don't need God to make me a good person. But I'm just laying out what I saw. Okay, that's all I'm doing is I'm laying out what I saw. And if you carry a gun, I do encourage you, go out and get some training. Really learn what you can and can't do. Practice and train under stress, under pressure. Figure out what your line in the sand is. Okay. And do you really want to jump in there and be that hero, right? Because there's a lot at stake. There is a lot at stake. And just being a hero, if you accidentally kill someone, innocent bystander in a situation like these, and one group of people says you're a hero, it doesn't matter. That's not going to get you off. That's involuntary manslaughter. Okay, and whether or not you actually this citizen did not go over and kill those people in the Tesla, but he may have very well caused it to happen. Cause and effect, folks. It is a thing. And there might be ramifications you can't see. So I pray that this guy, or hope that this guy doesn't. I hope he didn't harm anyone on Blue Lakes. I hope he didn't cause anyone to be harmed behind him from the bullets coming from the bad guy. But I guess when they get done investigating everything, we will find out. We'll see how this is. We will see how this is going to turn out. So there you go. That's my thoughts on the situation. The mass shooter at the In-N-Out, Twin Falls, Idaho, on August 1st, 2026. That's when it took place, yesterday. So, okay, I got to brace myself for all the text messages and the hate mail, which is coming my way. I'm pretty sure of it. You guys have a good rest of the Sunday. I'm going to get this out as soon as I can. Bye.